few. So starting grid, let's have a look at them for race number 6 of our championship. Again, it's all Red Bull up the top with Whincup and Lowndes set to resume their battle. Scotty Mclaughlin, is the power steering problem cured? Position 3. Will Davis, an excellent performance for Erebus Motorsport. James Courtney from 5 alongside Shane Van Gisbergen, who'll be looking for a settled race today. Tim Slade, 7th. Got pinged for an infringement yesterday. David Ward, terrific performance for Wilson Security Racing. And then Nick Percat, nice job. He had a hard day at the office yesterday with Lee Holdsworth. Fabian Coulthard's got a cold this weekend, but he's very strong at this racetrack. Will be out of position number 11.
There's Mark Winterbottom from 13th. Scott Pye next to him. I watched Frosty go and find his car. It looked like a little boy lost. He had to go right all the way back down the back of the grid. He hasn't been down there forever. Chaz Mostert and Rick Kelly, 17 and 18. There's the enforcer. It started so well for him the weekend in qualifying, but again, he finds himself down the back of the pack. The two Nissans, 21 and 22, go to Todd Kelly, former race winner here. The Swede, Robert Dahlgren. Garth Tander, a power steering issue for him in qualifying, so he couldn't get going. And Jack Perkins will start from position 25 after that contact with Mark Winterbottom in the qualifying session.
A lot of engineers talking to drivers at the moment about making sure that brake temps are just right. Because braking is so important around here and they need to balance those temperatures front to rear, because they're going to have to stand on it very hard on this opening lap for the fight for position. There's huge emphasis on it. In fact, AP Racing are the control supplier to the category, and they've brought down Ian Nash from the UK this weekend. This is the second toughest location on the tour for brakes. They really smoulder around this track.
Really good pickup, Neil. I'm standing next to Ian Nash, and you're dead right. And what you're going to not do is tuck yourself in behind a car for too long. But the bigger headache, I can tell you, is with the engineers up and down the pit lane. How do you not end up double stacking? How are you going to do this strategy option? This is going to be a tough mind game as well as a racing game. Really looking forward to this one.
It's already been a controversial but successful weekend for Red Bull Racing Australia, and they find themselves again side by side. It's been made crystal clear, race as hard as you want, but do not touch each other. So they'll be nervous at the front. What about Tander from right down the back? Can he do what Lowndes did yesterday and pick his way through the field? What about the Volvos or the Mercs starting on the second row of the grid?
Green flag, green flag.
Here, you blink and you miss it. Race 6 at the championship. Nervous Wade, really nervous Wade, and Lowndes got off to a flyer and gets the jump on his teammate. Through turn 1, good start 2 from Will Davison.
Right at the very back of the pack, Dahlgren sat there forever. He's miles behind.
That was a great jump by Craig Lowndes in the dirt on the run down to 4.
Down to 50 k's an hour. They snake around without incident. What a terrific jump from Lowndes.
And pit this lap was the call then for Jamie Whincup. Pit this lap, look for car number 1 to come in this lap. So an immediate strategy play. Battle for third though, on the outside Mclaughlin, Will Davison on the inside. James Courtney tucked in behind. Does Whincup peel in? I think he has. He is. Whincup's in. Lowndes has got clear margin. And how about Will Davison P2? Well done.
And look at Mclaughlin. He's looking inside and out. So Scotty Pye follows Whincup in. So too does Rick Kelly and Robert Dahlgren.
Will be a little bit slippery. Got a nice run in here. Let's use it.
This separates the cars. It means they don't have to stack later in the race.
Yep, and don't underscore the importance of Craig Lowndes winning that start, because by doing that, he's the guy not compromised. He's out in front. The first thing you've got to do in this double stacking game is be the guy in front in your team. Well done, Craig.
And it may well have been based on their position. That decision may have been taken based on the position of both the drivers relative to each other on the first lap.
Exactly. And look at that. He's put more fuel in. So he started with less fuel on board. He's put more fuel in, and he's now behind the Nissan and the Falcon on the way out.
He's going to have to ask those rear tyres to do a lot of work, though. That's one of the risks, because the temp is up.
Jack just got the tyre bundle there, so...
He's a lap down.
He's a lap down, yeah, as Mclaughlin on the inside here at turn 4 on Will Davison. And I reckon this will open up a few others as well, because Will was a bit of a cork in the bottle. And And James Courtney takes advantage of that as well.
Huge pressure right at the start of the race, and look at these guys at it in this long right-hand curve, and Mclaughlin checks out in a straight line. Side by side, Davison and Courtney. James has got the inside run. Watch Van Gisbergen as well. He's looking to stick the nose of the VIP, Holden in there as well.
So James was really struggling to stop it down at turn 6. Out the back of the Erebus Motorsport AMG E63, looking at Shane Van Gisbergen, who's always up for a scrap. Tim Slade's behind him.
That's good margin that Mclaughlin made in half a lap in this battle with Courtney and Davison. Watch Van Gisbergen very close to the back of the bends. Outdoors that shot. 52.3 fastest lap for Lowndes, but Mclaughlin's done the fastest sector split. Have a go here at Frosty. Mark Winterbottom on the outside, but it rapidly turns to the inside line at turn 6.
Oh, who's that?
Davey.
That's Dave.
So Reynolds is in here. He'll actually sneak underneath Caruso. Bit of hip and shoulder required, but eventually gets the job done at the final turn. It's much warmer out there than it was yesterday, and the wind's actually gone north. It's light, but we've seen 3 different days in 3 different directions with the wind.
McLaughlin's speed is as good as Lowndes in the last lap, 52.33, 52.36, so nothing in it. McLaughlin has now taken a 1/10.5 out of Lowndes on the first sector. Look at this jump. That jump from Lowndes is as good as you would ever see. Whincup start wasn't too bad because look at him relative to the field. It was a great start by Craig Lowndes. Watch this, just gone. Great drive, so the primary part of the start is the jump. The secondary part of the start is effectively the wheel spin. He limited the wheel spin and got away fantastically.
I think it's fair to say he's fully amped at the moment.
Yeah.
He's on a hair trigger. That drive yesterday afternoon was like that. Garth Tander here, back in the pack. He's battling with Todd Kelly. They're 16th and 17th. That's Russell Ingall in there as well. A ripper race for him in the first one yesterday, but he got his ears boxed in the second, including a pit lane drive-through penalty when he made a mistake on the restart. And McLaughlin's very quick again in sector 1. Faster split to timing intermediate number 1 up into this hairpin. Tander's looking for the under-over coming through turn 4. Nick Percat's up on the outside of Jack Perkins here as well. Percat's really been boxed out of position based on his qualifying.
So Whincup definitely started, just done the numbers there. He put 55 litres in just then, so he started with 60. So that's the difference in a track position based on the stops that we witnessed versus Scott Pye and Rick Kelly.
Yeah, there must be more to this for Nick Percat. I mean, he started, like you say, Croppo, inside the top 10. Started position 9. Effectively, he is last.
Yeah, just to answer your question, Matty, Nick Percat went off the road just at turn 6 on the 2 laps before. That's why he's lost all that track position. Also, just chatting with Gary Rogers about Robert Dahlgren at the start. He can't quite get used to these starts in these cars, and he just bogged it down. When you think about it, he's only had really 3 opportunities at Clipsal and the couple yesterday. So it's a lot to ask for. Brand new to the track, brand new to the game, brand new to getting these cars off the line.
When we saw the replay there, Rihanna, he was absolutely stationary when the whole field took off, and I reckon he gave them a 10-second head start, and they had to hold up the sweep vehicles behind him, but he's underway now, which is good. There he is on screen. So that explains Percat, because that had me mystified. In fact, I went back to double check whether he was one of the stoppers.
Yeah, which he did.
But there's 5 that have stopped. But meantime, Craig Lowndes, 3.2-second margin. Those that did stop included Rick Kelly, Scott Pye, Jamie Whincup, James Moffat, and Robert Dahlgren.
So Lowndes leads the way. He's got the young Kiwi fighting him again, and James Courtney's in the mix as well. He'll be back after this.
Craig Lowndes leads the way, this time across the line on target for a new fastest lap. Dropped away in that final sector, but margin's nice. 3.4 seconds to Scott Mclaughlin. We're on board with Mark Winterbottom in the Pepsi Ford. He runs position number 10, and he's chasing Lee Holdsworth. So Winterbottom has moved forward a couple of spots. Garth Tander has made ground from the tail of the field. He's up to 17th at the moment. And Whincup, remember, has stopped. He's 23rd. He's 46 seconds away from Craig Lowndes. But that will all play out as Lowndes and the guys that run at the front make their stop. This is Robert Dahlgren, who is a lap down in the 34 Volvo. Will Davison going by. He sits fourth from Van Gisbergen. And ironically, Van Gisbergen's chasing the car that he didn't want to drive. Remember that he drove for this team when it was Stone Brothers Racing. Changed to Erebus and Mercedes-Benz. He parted ways, and this is Dahlgren trying to do his best to get out of the way of these guys who are on the lead lap and fighting for racing position. He's 25th and last at the moment, and right behind Caruso, Brighton, Mostert trying to pick their way through. On board with Tim Slade. Superchip Auto Commodore sits P6, started from 7th, the best, but he's qualified here at Simmons Plains in his 5-year V8 supercar career. Of course, 4 cars this year from Walkinshaw Racing, and Slade taking over from Russell Ingall. This is Jamie Whincup. He is position 22. Rick Kelly up in front. Remember that Kelly in front and Scott Pye here, they stopped as well, but of course Whincup took on more fuel, hence why he has come out with them on the circuit. Lowndes out front, new fastest lap, the first man to jump down into the 51s, 51.97, building the margin over the Volvo. It's 3.8 seconds, it's lap 11 of 84. It's a 200-kilometre final race for the weekend, and is the Red Bull man, car 888, that leads the way.
Welcome back. Our mega wall, the Holden Racing team in the middle. And the man in the middle of that now, Adrian Burgess. Their best charge at the moment is James Courtney, third. But Craig Lowndes is just on a mission. Yesterday, he was an angry man who had to work his way through the pack. Today, he's at the front of the field, and he's going ballistic on the timesheets. He's 4 seconds clear of Scott Mclaughlin after putting down fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap, riding with Rick Kelly.
This is an interesting thing to look at and focus on for a moment, Matt. We're riding with Rick up into turn 4. That's Jamie Whincup in front. Remember, these guys have stopped. There's 5 of them, including 6 now. Michael Caruso's come in as well. We're early days, and there'll be another stop.
Guys are all done. We're just waiting on fuel. Fast lane is clear.
But the guys that we were just looking at, Whincup and Kelly, are 47-odd seconds off Craig Lowndes leading the race. When you take into account that Craig will probably, together with Red Bull Racing, split this race into thirds, using their fuel and their tyres equally, minimising the stationary time, to come in and grab the next dump of fuel, which will be about 60 litres. It'll take about 45.5 seconds, plus getting a little bit back up to speed as you exit the pit lane. Roughly 47 seconds. So what I'm saying is, at the moment, Lowndes, position 1, is racing Jamie Whincup, position 20, in an arm wrestle that's separated by fractions of a second. But Jamie has got the added disadvantage at the moment of doing it in traffic. Hot air going into the brakes and having to use more of the car and more of the rear tyre to get that job done.
And your point is 100% right, because he come out behind Pye and Kelly. So he had to use the car to get by those guys. His trademark is clear track and great lap times. That was hurt in the first 3 to 4 laps of going back out.
So right now, Jamie's 47.8 seconds behind Lowndes, and Lowndes has got a 4.4 second lead. So Craig's got this nice kind of open air stroll going at the moment. It's not as simple as that, but in relative terms, Jamie's a bit buried. But the battle is really interesting within the team, as it will be all year, I'm sure. And there is Whincup.
There they are. That's the gap.
And there's Lowndes. Yeah.
So that's the 47 seconds you make reference to. There's the effective leader.
Yep. And they're lapping in 52 seconds. So it's only a 7-second cushion. So they did the right thing with car 1. They made sure they didn't get lapped. But you can just see, folks, how knife edge it is. If you have any slip up in the pit lane here, boom, you grab, you're a lap down. Then you've got to hope for all kinds of other things to unfold as the day wears on. But this will be a fascinating one to watch, and I'll keep you updated with that gap.
It's funny, isn't it, how the roles have been reversed. Like you said, Scafey, the Jamie Whincup trademark is put down lap after lap, qualifying lap. He just gets into that zone. Now that's the job of Craig Lowndes, who's out at the front of the field with clear air. He's got to knock the times out of the park every time.
Exactly. So he just did a 52.27. On the previous lap, Whincup did a 52.28, 1/100th of a second apart.
So into the pit now is Lee Holdsworth of Erebus Motorsport. Him and Michael Caruso have been the first couple of cars to do 4 tyres, not only fuel. So these guys now are putting tyres on the car. The guys that stopped on those first 1 or 2 laps only did fuel.
And we could see on our United Petroleum fuel flow register, they've tipped about 40 litres into that car. We've got about 50 into Jamie's. So Robert Dahlgren, Jason Bright, whose weekend has pretty much gone a bit pear-shaped. Behind them, Chaz Mostert, Russell Ingall, there's Todd Kelly and Garth Tander. So Garth's up to 15th. After starting from 24th. Remember, we make 6 drivers who've stopped.
Lowndes is going to come in. Lap 15 was the start of that window. We saw from Larco's racebacks. That's the general thinking of when they were first going to come in. That doesn't split it into thirds. It brings it a bit early.
Yeah, that's actually not going to be like the strategy that I called there a moment ago. So I was going to say, it could be to do with traffic and Lowndes in. It's going to be a very fluid play by lots of different teams as they juggle the 120 litres of United fuel into these cars. So Lowndes in, leaves Mclaughlin in the lead by about 2 seconds over Courtney. Gizzy's come in as well. There he is in the background.
You cover I was just about to say, you cover the leader now. So with someone like Lowndes, you've got to work out who you're racing. And I would have, if I was Scott Mclaughlin, done the same thing. 4 tyres.
So watch for where Lowndes drops.
Still clear. Still clear. Still clear. Go, 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 go.
Okay, so
that's the licorice stripes.
Whincup's coming around turn 7 now.
Oh, Craig's gone off the road. Lowndes went off the road, pushing hard on cold tyres. He wants to hold that margin over Whincup. There's Jamie. That's the gap. Different levels of fuel went in. We'll have to reverse engineer that for you, get a feeling for where this fuel load takes them car to car.
I thought it was roughly 12 seconds.
David Wall's come in too in the Wilson security entry. There's his teammate Scotty Pye. Van Gisbergen and Rick Kelly are going hard at it as well.
So the Volvo S60 of Scott Mclaughlin leads the race now. Courtney's second. But remember, of those who have pitted so far, Lowndes is the best. David Wall, the Wilson security entry out of DJR, rejoins into a clear spot. James Courtney into pit lane.
So from our calculations, it looks like Lowndes put in a couple of seconds less fuel than Whincup, which is for track position.
Yeah.
But that still gives him the lead. The only time that these two guys will get caught now, if it's a safety car, they'll have to bring both cars in. So you still get affected by stacking if that happens.
Go, go, go. All clear, all clear.
So Courtney's done the same thing, roughly 12 seconds. We'll work that number out for you properly. There you go. There's the leader. There's Craig, Jamie. James just coming out of the pits. This is an interesting rejoin, this one. He's going to be right there with Van Gisbergen. There's Van Gisbergen.
Those couple of seconds of fuel saving in the fuel dump in that stopscape, you were pretty instantly compromised by Craig understeering off the road. He probably dropped a second to a second and a half at least there.
Yeah.
So now comes that time when the guys at the top of the list, Mclaughlin, Davison and Coulthard, who haven't stopped, especially Mclaughlin and Davison, how far do they go before they come in?
Wait for the fuel now.
Because they'll start to give time away to the effective race leaders.
Yeah, so Mclaughlin is leading. Craig Lowndes by 38.3 seconds. So if he comes in and does what we would call the standard stop now, he's going to go backwards by about 10 seconds roughly.
And Mclaughlin comes in. Oh, that's a difficult rejoin, but well done.
Cold tyres.
Tim Slade. Oh. He's got his hands full straight away.
That's what a cold tyre looks and feels like. Meantime, race leader Scott Mclaughlin in, Volvo Polestar Racing. The crew go to work.
Coming in pit lane now, SPR. Should be right, I reckon. Just waiting on fuel. Pit
40
clear.
litres.
Car drops, go.
50 litres of fuel.
Right.
So
watch your speed.
he was stationary for about the same time that Jamie Whincup was early. But remember, he's chewed up time out on the track.
And the United E85 goes in at a rate of about 3.7 seconds a litre. There goes Lowndes. There you can see left of screen is Scotty. Here comes Whincup. This one will be tight. One's on cold tyres, one's at full tilt. And they're side by side, and Mclaughlin hangs on. But he's going to be a busy boy when he gets through this next right-hander and up to the hairpin. He won't be able to stop it quite as late, so he's going to have to block. Up the outside goes Whincup and easily rounds him up with more brakes, but he overshoots. Can he hang on? It's a full motocross move, and Whincup runs out the other side and manages to hang on by a fingernail. It's not done yet. He has to get to the left, and he inches across and just manages to cover him. How is that for tight motor racing?
That was fantastic stuff.
That was groovy.
Scott Mclaughlin will not be intimidated by anyone. It doesn't matter how many races you've won, how many championships you've got under your belt. He just came firing out and said, I'm going to take that spot.
Well,
and then Whincup, with terrific talent, gets it straight back, but had to work hard for it. Gee, this is a good battle between these two blokes.
Impressive on cold tyres, boys. That's not an easy thing to do. So to poke it up there at turn 4 and have Jamie go the high road and then continue to race him for that lap was very good. And he's sticking with him. He's under him again at 4. Oh, hold your breath again there. Oh, they squeeze out the other side. Wow. And we know that the Volvo's good in a straight line. Its torque curve must be very good in this midsection of the back straight, because that battle he had with Courtney before, he was very quick. Here's Frosty.
Righto, boys. Get the wheels on.
Fabian Coulthard's leading.
Okay.
Winterbottom come in from 8th position.
Otherwise, keep going.
So Lowndes has just done the fastest lap of the race. He's in 8th on the road, but first on the list of those to have stopped.
20 seconds here. You're going to stop at 20. Go, 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 go.
So Winterbottom rejoins.
Okay, mate. Coming past front straight now.
Ingle and Tander come into pit lane, back on board. The battle continues. They had a classic stoush at the Clipsal 500.
Oh. He's shaped for a dive then. He moved it out of the mirror. One of the tricks at the end of the straight there, Matt, is that the road's actually quite wide. It's the widest section of road. So you flick out of the mirror and they can't find you. So when you look in the mirror, you don't know where the other guy is. That's exactly what he did. He moved it out and he had a little look, just like he's having a little look now. He looks like he's got really good pace. Good tyre quality. Now he may, if Jamie blocks, because you don't really have to block there, the road gently moves to the left. If he has he's just got to stay up enough. I think he might do it this time. Oh, that is so close, Crombo.
If he can get an overlap,
he's
all he's
there.
looking for.
Yep.
There's a couple of millimetres, and then you'll get up to the outside of the Holden. Is there a little puff of blue on the gear shifts there, or was it bottoming out? Was that just the splitter, or was that on the tyre gear shift?
As you can see, he's got good pace. Look at this. Look at the oversteer that Whincup's got.
Yeah, tyre age is a part of this. So remember that Scotty's got fresh boots on this thing.
He's lining him up again at turn 4. A wash some 200 kilometres off the speed. Launch onto the brakes. Bring it back down to 50 Ks, first gear, swing it around. Try and get the line right. Staring now into the sun.
so much engine, like Winterbottom. Cool, mate.
Wincup just pulled away a little bit there on that lap. So Jack Daniels and Erebus Motorsport side by side around through turn 5. It's Lee Holdsworth and Rick Kelly and Scotty Pye. He's got a bird's eye view of that one behind him.
Sorry, Matty, we've Scapey and I have got the abacus flying here at the moment, just kind of working through all the different scenarios. It's really fascinating with this strategy play being executed by different teams and how this will work out. At the moment, though, kind of doesn't matter what the calculator says, because for Wincup it's about track position. He's trying to hold off Scott Mclaughlin and he's got his hands full. He's being really pressured at the moment and it's exciting the rear of the #1 Red Bull car, and that's not serving his case at all. The more he slides, the more it's going to be difficult to hold Scott.
So take a look at your Coates Hire leaderboard. Coulthard, Perkins and Dale Wood yet to stop. David Reynolds has just entered pit lane. So the effective race leader is Craig Lowndes, but this is a ripper battle at Symmons Plains.
And while Wincup and Mclaughlin are having this great fight, Lowndes is clearing away from them. He's 7 seconds down the road. Courtney's closing in on them. Then Gisbergen is with them as well. And this is a bit further back with Will Davison, Tim Slade, Lee Holdsworth, Rick Kelly being menaced by the 2 Wilson Security Fords. Scott Pye's got by. David Wall's trying more. He's going a long, long way here, but puts him on the inside for turn 6. The Jack Daniels Nissan really can't fight out there. There's just no grip. You can't really stay side by side all the way around the next corner. So he lines back in. Fabian Coulthard leads on the road from Perkins and Wood. They are the 3 cars that have not yet pitted. Lowndes is 4th on the road, but the effective race leader, Coulthard, in fact, pits this time by in the Lockwood Commodore. Lap 28 of 84. Perkins pits as well. So it's really a case of who's done what at their first stop. How much fuel did they start with? How much have they put in? And how much do they have left remaining to put in? Team from Brad Jones Racing goes to work. Dale Wood is in the pit, so all cars have now visited pit lane during the course of this race so far. And Lowndes retakes the lead. He's gone across the line this time by. His margin of Wincup 7.5. He's clearing away from his teammate in the #1 car. And Coulthard here will rejoin down the tail of the top 10. Holdsworth is 8th. Coulthard will be 9th, but under major pressure from Scott Pye, the Wilson Security Ford from Dick Johnson's team. And of course, he's on warm tyres. Coulthard trying to get up to pace and up to temperature. Lap 29. Here at Symmons Plains.
Symmons Plains always delivers spectacular racing, and this super sprint format is really mixing it up. The strategy's being played all over the shop. Fabian Coulthard has just completed his pit stop, so he's now battling for 10th, 9th position with Scotty Pye.
And it looks like they're splitting it in equal parts for Coulthard. When he came out of the pits, he was immediately engrossed in this Wilson Security sandwich. He's got one of them either side of him at the moment, and once those tyres warm up, he'll probably be in a position to clear Scott, but it's not going to be an easy task, this one at the moment. He's dropped into some pretty heavy traffic.
Neil, let me try and just simplify this, why it's going to be such a fascinating race. Here's the regulated fuel towers. All the teams have them. They're full of United E85 ethanol blend. Now, if we come around the back, there's only one thing that V8 Supercars are interested in. You start up here at 500 millimetres, there's the sight glass, and down to this seal here, which is 140 millimetres. And as long as you put that amount of fuel in, that's your 120 litres. Now, if we look at that 888, there's Craig Lowndes. That's about there. There's car 1. Jamie Wincups, and looking there, just sighting those, I'd say Jamie's got a little bit less fuel to put in, and he's just a little bit behind Craig. This is going to be a cracker.
He needs 18 seconds worth of fuel, Wincup. Lowndes needs 20 seconds worth of fuel. Jamie's got a bit more flexibility. The window to get Lowndes home kind of opens about lap 52, but for Jamie, it's lap 32, 33. So we're going to keep on watching that one. Thanks, Larko.
So the field's now being cleansed in the first round of pit stops. So Lowndes has an 8-second lead over Whincup. Mclaughlin is third.
There's a nice little ding in the passenger's door of Scotty Pye's car there too.
And Larko, the other one that's important is to have a look at Mark Winterbottom, because he put a lot of fuel in, more than anybody else. So he's down in 17th position, but from our calculations, we think he might only have to put 10 to 15 litres in. So have a look at FPR, because that sight glass will determine that for us and show whether Winterbottom later in the race will stop for less time and therefore jump up the board.
So it's important to just re-establish you can do whatever you want so long as you drop the fuel. You can put 119 litres if you had space. Well, you can't, in fact. That's a bad example. You could put 100 litres of fuel in, and then you could stick the other 12 in later if you wanted to, or you could split any way you like. That's what we like about the play with the strategy here. Remember, the total capacity is 112 litres of the United E85. And look at this, Scotty Pye and Fabian Coulthard at it again. There's a little impression in the passenger's door, and Fabian put that in there when he came out of the pit lane up at turn 4. Now he's got that position that he's been working on for 2 laps, to be on the outside through the sweeper that gives him the ideal racing line and the approach into this next left-hander at 6.
Hey, Scafie, I've just dived around the FPR, back of the FPR pits here. Here's Mark Winterbottom's tower, and you're dead right, mate. If you have a look, there's that sight glass we're looking at. Jamie and Craig were up around here. Look, way down here, there's Mark Winterbottom's fuel. So that's as much as he's got to put in. How much is that? About that much.
That's
about
technical.
10 litres. Yeah. You clown.
Indonesian Grand Prix winner.
Right.
He would know.
So an ultra short stop for Mark Winterbottom compared to a longer one for the other guys. And that battle that we were just watching between Scott Pye and Fabian Coulthard, they both had really good weekends, and Scott Pye's been in top 10 finishes for the 2 races yesterday. Fabian, of course, landed on the podium in race 5. This one between Will Davison, who started on the second row of the grid, got a good start. He followed Lowndes off the start. He's now in 6th with the Super Cheap Auto Commodore behind him, Tim Slade.
These guys have been battling the whole race. Tander and Todd Kelly have been battling the whole time. Mostert right up in behind there too.
That's for position 20. Todd's in 20th, Garth 21st, and Chaz Mostert just tucked in behind together with Jason Bright, who's been on the radio a bit. So I don't think his car's too nice at the moment. Todd had some contact yesterday and broke the front suspension component in that car, parked him up in the garage. And remember, his brother Rick got turfed off the road up at turn 6 once, and also had a brake failure. Not so much a brake failure as a leaky master cylinder that turfed him up there as well. So he spent a couple of occasions just beached in that gravel, no fun at all.
Todd was one of the drivers who got pinged on the restart and the change to the rules. It was interesting to hear how many drivers got it wrong because they forgot about the change. They were in that race mode again. And Tim Slade, by the way, who did get pinged 25 seconds, went up to the driving standards observer, Jason Bargwanna, and said, "Where do I sign? You got me."
Like, plead guilty.
Plead guilty, you're on.
I'm done.
I have no case.
Yeah, well, the early plea might, you hope you might be able to win a case there. But it's a lot to manage for the drivers in that scenario. It's never as simple as it seems from the outside. You're trying to look for a line on the track, you're trying to look for signs, you're trying to watch and manage your own car and speed, and you're also trying to compete. It's not a simple process.
Exactly. Just about to make the point about James Courtney's pace. He's moved right up onto the back of Mclaughlin. We're on board now with James. We're going to stay here for a lap. Pay particular notice to the body language of the blue S60 Volvo right in front.
See, that's where the Volvo's bottoming out. There's a little puff of smoke on the rear left.
Beautiful driving. Every little bit of road. Watch how accurate they are here. Every bit of road. Whincup. Mclaughlin on board there with Courtney.
Craig Lowndes, 10 seconds further up the road. So can they catch him? There's more strategy to play out in this one. Just under 50 laps remaining.
So lap 37, and it's still a battle of the bulls up front, although it's not directly on track. This is directly on track. David Wall and Russell Ingall, the Repair Management Australia Commodores, side by side through the sweeper towards turn 6. They're fighting for position number 11. Great day yesterday for Russell Ingall, having a 4th place finish in this small team. It's the single car operation from Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport based in Melbourne, and he's got that move done as we look back from Scott Pye in the 16 Wilson Security Falcon. This time last year he was driving that car, which is right behind him. It was yellow then, and it was off the road at one stage too, as we've seen throughout the course of the weekend with the action from 12 months ago when he had a major accident. It is certainly going well. Look at this. Courtney is right on the back of Scott Mclaughlin. This is for 3rd place. Factory Volvo, Factory Holden, and James Courtney and the Holden Racing team on something of a mission. Of course, he won the Clipsal 500 Sunday race from deep in the pack. Trying to turn this team back into what it once was, the powerhouse of the V8 supercars, and he's really got some good pace here. He's crept his way up onto the back of the S60 Volvo. Rick Kelly's in the pits, first car now to make his 2nd stop. Here he is, the 15 Jack Daniels Nissan. It's been a tough track here for Rick Kelly in previous years. He's not really had many nice results. Won his first ever V8 race here, the Kmart days in 2004, but since then it's been tough stuff in the last 4 or 5 years. He's being filled right to the end. The leaders have completed 39 laps, and Lowndes leads the way. The margin is 11 seconds back to Jamie Whincup.
Good to go, go.
We're back at the Tyre Power Tasmania 400, the first of the Super Sprint rounds of 2014. And you're riding with Scott Mclaughlin, Valvoline Racing out of Gary Rogers Motorsport on the Polestar S60, but this car behind him of James Courtney looks super quick.
This is a terrific battle. Whincup, Mclaughlin, Courtney with Shane Van Gisbergen only a fraction behind. Meantime, some people are coming in now for their 2nd stops. James Moffat, Todd Kelly have just come in. Rick Kelly's been in, and we're expecting to see Whincup any tick of the clock. There is Todd Kelly. Temps up, boys. Air at the moment. The report from Noel Kelly from Dunlop is that it's 25 degrees air in pit lane, and in the mid to high 30s on the racetrack. Was that Whincup in the weeds there? Yeah. So that's the problem with the age, the stint that he's had to do with those tyres, Scapey. Those rears are hurting for him. So we've got the track bathed in sunlight. Yesterday we had a wind from the different direction and we had overcast conditions. So you'll find some guys are just not set for it. Cars just won't be nice.
Look at the difference in the lines off the hairpin there. Whincup, massively different line, much wider, using more road. The other guys are driving it off there very straight and looking after the tyres.
Hey, just for a moment, we're in a really dangerous little phase of the race for Craig Lowndes and Scotty Mclaughlin, perhaps a couple of others. Remember, it's a better than 100% chance of a safety car here. In this little phase right now we're in, if there was a safety car, Craig would come in and would not be able to get the full fuel load in. So it's a dangerous little sequence for them.
Yeah, it's very true.
That's right. That's what I was getting at before. Larko, the window, we call it, opens for him to get in. In other words, there's sufficient space in the tank to get the United E85 in around about lap 50 to 52. Our figures are always going to be a bit rubbery, the team knows, and we have to use a bit of reverse engineering in guessing. But for Jamie, there's a bit more flexibility with the way things have gone. But he's got, look at how much he's looking in the rear view mirror. He just made an anti-roll bar adjustment as well. And he's doing everything to open the steering at the moment to not laterally or side load that car and hurt the tyre.
You've got to bring him in now. You've got to bring him in now. He needs now fresh rubber to be competitive here. He's going to get gobbled by these two guys. So,
yep. There you go. He can hear you. Telepathy.
That's a smart move.
So he was fueled. He could have got as far as lap 53. And we said he could take this opportunity he's taking now any time from about lap 32. So he's well in the zone, and I think he stretched the tyres as much as you dare. Larko?
Yeah, well, this is going to be critical. So in comes Jamie now. Watch when he pulls up. Okay, in goes the fuel now. He's got a digital readout. Now, if I can grab my camera guy, Dave, come with me. Down behind the fuel cell here. Right, you can see this lad here under the helmet. He's watching. Look, there it is. He's got a little button in his finger. When that gets down to that Tiga sticker, he's going to hit the trigger. That'll display on the fuel man's display. Let me watch his finger.
Give me a nod if you're okay.
Bang done, fuel out, car gone.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Yeah, well done, Larko. That was great. And a really nice process there from Red Bull Racing.
Is that Courtney in the background? I reckon it is. They're calling the gaps for him. It is Courtney. And Gizzy in behind. Here's Mclaughlin now responding.
That's smart. You've got to cover the leader. You've got to work out who you're racing in these events like this. They're on the same strategy.
Eyes are done. When the car drops, you're right to go. There's a car entering pit lane now. He's coming past. You'll be right. Pit lane's clear now. Just waiting on fuel. Go. Watch the speed.
Nice getaway.
And in comes Winterbottom, remember, for that little splash. Because he took so much fuel early, they had a gap that allowed him to dump a heap of fuel early in the race. Now he's only got to squirt a bit in. He's in the lane near the exit end of the lane.
So here comes Whincup. So this will drop Mclaughlin back behind, or will it? Last time around he stuck his nose out there ahead of Whincup. This time it's behind Courtney.
So the first in the queue with 2 stops is the man on screen in car 1. He's dumped his mandatory fuel.
So remember, Courtney's not really in this battle. This is a totally different phase of the race right now we're looking at. Courtney is effectively second from Lowndes because they've only made 1 stop each. Same with Van Gisbergen, same with Will Davison. So just got to wait for this to pan out. We're about 10 laps away from seeing where Lowndes arrives back out in terms of track position versus Whincup. Now we'll give you the gap.
Courtney's in, so that was James in the background there, Scapey. So that takes a bit of the heat away for Whincup. Gives him good clean air at the moment to do these laps. One of the things that's been impressive about Whincup again this weekend is the bounce back. Tough race 3 in Adelaide. Big results for him here this weekend. Pole positions and authoritative performances on the racetrack. Courtney. Fuel in. The clear hose is the vent side. Remember, it's timed. They're not looking for the fuel to spill back.
A bit of a stop this one, we're all right.
So right now, the dangerous thing is that Jamie Whincup is a lap down. He'll get it back, but right now, if the safety car comes out, you're in strife.
Yeah, he was a lap down on Craig, and he held his ground over James. That's right, there's the risk.
That's the danger.
Here we go. Here comes Courtney. Here comes Whincup.
It's going to just get there.
Got him. And, oh man,
I got him.
That was contact. They did make contact, and has that damaged the front right corner of the Volvo? They're playing for keeps. And look, Mclaughlin's checking the steering. It's right hand down. So he's checking the steering, but it looks to be a fraction right hand down. So there's a bent steering arm on the Volvo.
He's locked it up to Mclaughlin. Little lock up on the approach in there to turn 4.
So he did a little steering check to make sure that it was okay. It's a bit hard to tell up that, we call it a back straight, but it isn't because of the curve. But when he goes back under the bridge in the run to turn 4, if we look on board, Van Giz is in as well. Together with Lowndes, he's in earlier than we predicted.
They may choose to vent some here. So remember, you've got to use the 120, but you don't. If it can't go in, if it fills the tank, it just gets vented.
How you going there, Haddo? Give us a nod, mate. Thank you. Clear the pit lane here, mate. I'll keep you posted.
So remember, one's got flow, one's venting. So look for the hose.
Car 1's halfway down the back straight at the moment and approaching the braking area of turn 6.
Go.
Done.
Coming into the final complex is Whincup. You'll see him come on screen in a moment. There's Lowndes, left of frame.
Whincup's only now getting down to turn 7. There he is.
Yep.
This is going to be, oh no, they're both going to get by. I thought that was going to be interesting there.
So in this little straight shoot up here to turn 4 is where Mclaughlin will get a real read on the front end of his car and whether there's much in the way of steering damage. And here's the contact between Courtney and Mclaughlin. Bang. Right front to left rear.
Wheel to wheel.
I reckon that's just given, and in fact, it ended up with such a belt that it actually meant that Scotty had his hand off the wheel.
Here we go, on board. Watch this. Bang!
Oh, yeah, it was a biggie, all right.
That hit hard.
Yeah, so that's absolutely given that front right-hand track rod steering arm a tweak. There's Richard Holway, his engineer.
And the report back from Scott was that he couldn't stop it. He couldn't stop it coming into that part of the circuit. Therefore, he whacked into car 22. How much damage has it done? We'll find out after this.
So out of all of that drama, the timing screen shows Will Davison as the leader. Still a range of cars, 9 cars that have pitted just once in this race. Let's see how this Volvo goes. They've had drama with the steering in terms of power steering over the course of the weekend. Now there's the contact with James Courtney, so still a long way to go. 35 laps to complete for Mclaughlin for the rest of this race. This is Chaz Mostert in the number 6 Pepsi car, started from 17th place. First time here in a V8 supercar for former Dick Johnson racing driver, former Australian Formula 4 champ. He's still learning his way. He's had some accidents in Adelaide and at Albert Park, trying to string together some strong runs. Davison pits from the lead. Coulthard now takes over out in front. Reynolds has gone to pit lane as well. As we start to really shuffle out who is where in terms of how much fuel they need to get home. And we'll get a straight race. There's Will Davison. Let's see with the Erebus number 9 car returns to the circuit. There goes Lowndes. Whincup will appear. There he is in the background. Courtney, Mclaughlin. This will be tight. Where does Will Davison come out in all of this? Have Erebus put him up into a spot? Yes, they have. He comes out in front of James Courtney. So this gets interesting. And Merck is in the mix with the Commodores and the Volvo. Erebus have never finished on the podium. Their best finish was last year at Sandown in the 500k endurance race with Lee Holdsworth and Craig Baird. They finished 4th there.
All right, mate. Currently P3 here. P3.
This is Luke Mason, engineer for Will Davison. They are a red-hot shot. Let's see what unfolds in the next 33 laps.
Welcome back. It's been a great weekend so far, and the crowd have responded. 52,766 over the 3 days. That's up on last year. This super sprint format is an absolute winner, and it continues at our next event at Winton, and then of course over to Pukekohe Park Raceway in New Zealand. So Garth Tander comes in. Boys, I was just looking at some of the numbers in the ad break, and when it all cleanses again for the second round of pit stops, Mark Winterbottom will have made a healthy jump courtesy of that short stop. It was about 7 seconds, the stop that he needed. It will put him inside the top 10. Remember, he started at 13th. He drifted down to about 17th. So they played a right card there.
The other really good one too, Matt, is Will Davison. He's come out, he's right in front of Courtney. He has jumped So he's effectively third in this race at the moment. Courtney's diving down the inside as we speak, and he gets it done. Good move.
I just quickly went and have a chat with Richard Holloway for Scott Mclaughlin. He is adamant that Scott doesn't have any damage to his steering, and he thinks he should be fine for the rest of the race.
Okay, thanks, Rihanna. As Jason Bright comes in.
I've had the same chat with Richard over the radio. All he says to you is, press on, mate, press on.
That's right.
Mate, it's not steering problem. Press on, mate, press on.
That's right. Yeah, there's a difference between it finishing and then wheel aligning nicely.
That's right.
But we'll give him that one. I'd like to go down and see it on the setup pad.
Sort of the engineering sympathy for the driver.
Yeah, zero. Yeah, bad luck, mate. It's not our problem. Mr. Russell Ingall, we're looking at him at the moment.
Talk to you when you get back.
So into the pits for his second stop from position 3. Tumbling down the order now. So the man effectively in the lead with 2 stops done is Craig Lowndes. There are 2 more drivers to clear their stops. 3, in fact. Fabian Coulthard, Nick Percat, and off the road, car number 21, Dale Wood. Had some brake dramas yesterday and off a couple of times at turn 6. This time it's down at turn 2.
Lap cars everywhere. There you go, yep, clear.
So Coulthard, Percat and Jack Perkins are yet to stop. Everybody else has done 2. So 22 of the 25 cars completed their 120-litre fuel drop. Here's what happened. So for some reason, he ended up in the dirty line down there, Dale. And once you're out in the weeds there's no stopping it on the edge of that racetrack. It's going to be covered in dust and rubber. Caruso on the outside here is Todd Kelly with a little bit of a bump and grind with Jason Bright up into the hairpin. And there's Percat, car 222. So he's one of them that I mentioned before. In from a high position now as he takes on his fuel. Good qualifying performance for Nick and a nice recovery after yesterday's tough day.
Fabian Coulthard has also entered the lane, so that will cleanse the field. James Moffat, Norton Hornet, returns to the scene of his victory at Winton in 6 days' time. So make sure you come and join us at the Winton 400. That's where he broke through for his first career win. It's a great track. All the Victorian teams test there, so it always provides tremendous racing, real racers circuit.
Wondering why, as we look at Fabian coming out after that second stop now. He's got the beard going this weekend too, Fabian. If you're wondering why the gap between Lowndes and Whincup was a little bigger than we were talking up in the early part of the race. Remember, Jamie spent a long time on those tyres and then spent a long time in traffic. So the rear tyres were hurting and then he got bottled up. And I reckon that you'll find that everybody, not just Red Bull Racing, but everybody at this stage, certainly from early in the game, it's not done yet, they would have absolutely gambled on a safety car. Everybody would have said, probability says there'll be a safety car. None of that's happened so far, which is extraordinary. There's been 26 races coming into this event, not including what's happened so far this weekend, for 36 Petters safety car interventions. So it's better than 100% certainty that it's going to pop up.
You're trying to put the mock on the racing.
Well, usually when you say it, you can be guaranteed that it'll appear. 4.5 seconds is the gap to this man, Jack Perkins, but he's only done one of the stops to take the mandatory fuel requirement. He got tangled up in qualifying this morning with sister car driven by Mark Winterbottom down at turn 2. Geez, very high at turn 4. We were talking earlier in the day, Mark, about the way the line there has altered over the years. Very different in the modern cars. Perhaps it's to do with either the cars or the track grip that they're doing differently than they used to.
Well, they're running what we call the high line. They actually use the gradient and run around the bowl of, we're on board to have a look, the Scott Pye. You see when you break it down there, you have always turned it hard and run down the hill, but they run around the outside more and they use the banking to keep the mid-corner speed up. So it's a different technique. Everybody now uses that technique and they all search for that little concrete apron right next to the guardrail where the highest grip level is. So see some of the runs we've seen coming onto the straight. It's very important, that exit, and that's where most of the wheel spin comes when you accelerate the cars from 50 kilometres an hour in first gear right through to 270 kilometres an hour.
Really happy for Scott Pye this weekend, a 10th and a 7th so far. Meanwhile, Scotty McLaughlin's given it some jandle. And boy, won't that be some weekend, the Anzac Day weekend at the ITM 500. You can get your tickets via tickettech.co.nz. It's where he scored his first championship win. Can he go back and do it for the first time in a Volvo? Jandal's flat to the floor, but Craig Lowndes is our race leader at this high-powered Tasmania 400.
And at the moment, Mclaughlin runs P6, which really will shake out to P5, of course. Plenty of fans in New Zealand watching on Sky Sports and our coverage of V8 Supercars, but he's under fire from one of his own, Van Gisbergen, and another one of his own, Fabian Coulthard. The Kiwis hanging out together here, nothing separating them as they continue this fight. Lowndes leads on the road. Perkins is second, but has to pit again. Whincup next, then Courtney and Davison, McLaughlin, Van Gisbergen, Coulthard, the fight we're looking at here. Slade and Winterbottom, that's the top 10. Reynolds is outside, Holdsworth next. Ingle is up to 13th from 19th on the grid. Then David Wall, Tander 15th from 24th on the grid. Pye, Mostert, Percat, Bright, Caruso, Todd and Rick Kelly, Moffat. They're the last cars on the lead lap. Dahlgren and Wood are one lap down, but we're right on board with Scott McLaughlin, who has really been, he was a sensation last year, the Rookie of the Year in the V8 Supercars Championship. And many people were thinking, well, new manufacturer this year. Look at this, he cops a bump from Van Gisbergen. Plenty of people thinking, well, new program, Volvo coming into the championship, new engines. Probably thought that perhaps we'd expect a little bit of a dip from McLaughlin this year, and understandable with a new program, but no dip here. He is right on the money and competing really well with plenty of teams that have been around a long time with their technical platforms. Perkins is in, so now we have a race order that is true on the road as it is on the timing screen. Lowndes' margin 8.8 seconds to Jamie Whincup. This is really entertaining. The Kiwis getting stuck into things. Pukekohe a month away. We race on Anzac Day. That'll be very, very special for this Australian and New Zealand dominated championship. Coulthard having a little bit of a look down at the hairpin on Van Gisbergen. Remember, the Lockwood driver won 2 races here last year, and he gets it done. Tim Slade's not too far away either in the Super Cheap Auto Commodore. On lap 61, there's 24 to complete. And let's see what Coulthard can do now about McLaughlin in the Volvo S60. Whincup second, Courtney third. Davison is fourth for Erebus. He's right with Courtney. 61 gone, 23 to go.
Just over 20 laps remaining in the 6th race of 2014. Craig Lowndes leads by 8.9 seconds over Jamie Whincup. James Courtney is third. Will Davison in the Erebus Mercedes is fourth. Then McLaughlin, Coulthard and Van Gisbergen. So 3 Kiwis in a row, and there's been a change to that order because Fabian snuck by, but this is what happens when Kiwis collide.
Yeah, and this was a bit exciting. So Shane gets into the back of the Volvo and then lifts the throttle so that he doesn't make an illegal pass. Here it is again, looking from the rear bumper of Scotty McLaughlin's car. Whack. G'day in Kiwi.
Hey, bro.
Hey, bro. And then as they come off the corner, watch this. Sorry, man. So,
bro.
Yeah, bro. So Shane gives him a wave and says, sorry, dude. And then Scotty waves back to him. Meantime, Fabian doesn't care about all this bro stuff. He just sneaks up the inside, even though he's one of them. So he's grabbed a spot here. That's outstanding. And he's second in the championship and grabbing points, and he's got another one. So Coulthard's looking good. Younger tyres on that car are working nicely. So he's got that thing hooked up at the moment. He might have a cold, but it's not affecting performance. Bro.
I'm going to get you some jandals before we go to Pukekohe.
A chili bin. from a happy aid.
Hey boys, I've just found the best seat in the house down here, approaching turn 1-2. Now, I spoke earlier in the day about the difficulty in negotiating this from a braking point of view. Watch the cars behind me, 200 kilometres an hour as they get to that hump. Now remember, we said you're turning right, then you've got to turn left while you're stopping the car. And when you come around here, when they're braking, you get a really good sense. If I duck down here, look at this, you can see the outside tyre. You get a strong sense of the importance of tyre pressure, of the camber of the outside tyre, of the springing of the car. It really is sensational. The dynamics of the chassis absolutely at play here. Beautiful to watch.
And check out the crowd too, Larko. That's the best seat in the house up there. I reckon the cars come barreling straight towards you. That's where Scotty Pye went off. So Lowndes leads by 9 seconds now. We're going to pay some bills for the last time today, which means we can go all the way ad-free after this to the checkered flag.
Jump on board here with Tim Slade in the Superchip Auto Commodore, and you can see, you'll notice from the in-car cameras with some of the Commodore drivers that dash system and setup that was debuted at the Clipsal 500 to make these cars further look more and more like the VF Commodore road car that you can buy, and they've even added some of the temperatures and the switches down below. I don't think it's going to change the air conditioning for Tim today. He sits P8 as he chases his former Stone Brothers teammate Van Gisbergen. Winterbottom is 9th, but he's right with Slade. Just here, if you have a look on the steering wheel, that 3 in the middle there, you can see that's the gear that he's in. This is tight. Dale Wood is a lap down. Scott Pye is 16th in the race and fighting with Nick Percat, who is fighting back. Remember, he qualified well in the top 10, but tripped off the road earlier on and is trying to reclaim some ground. In fact, he'll go for the spot here at turn 6. Gets it done. The HHA Commodore with new colours this weekend. This is one of the 4 cars from Walkinshaw Racing alongside the Holland Racing Team and the Superchip Auto car that we ran on board with just not less than a minute ago. Scott Pye, remember, driving for Dick Johnson's team this year, just DJR and FPR running Fords. There's some technical tie-up between the two teams. Campbell Little is heading up operations for DJR from a technical perspective these days, the former Stone Brothers 888 and FPR engineer. We're on lap 67. Lowndes leads by 9.2 seconds. Back to Whincup. A little bit of tape there on the left front, left side skirt of the 888 Commodore. But he leads the way from Whincup. Courtney is with Whincup. 2.8 seconds the gap. Davison is just trying to close in on Courtney to get to that podium. Coulthard is 5th, but he is coming on strong in this back half of the race. This is Lowndes, leads the way, 17 left to run. We've been racing for just over an hour, and he's in the box seat for a win at Simmons Plains.
Welcome back. Well, yesterday's drive by Craig Lowndes was just awesome as he picked his way through the field after starting from the rear of the grid. Today's is just as good. From the very start, he out-dragged his teammate. He said that he had the fire in the belly yesterday to make the moves. They tuned up the car to let him be aggressive. Well, today he's been flawless up to this point. Still no safety car, so things can change on lap 68 out of 84, but he's 9.4 seconds ahead of Jamie Whincup.
That is a great place to watch one of these cars in action. If you happen to be one of the crew members and you're on the signalling wall there, it's a thrill a minute, it's a thrill a second, because they come through there at the slowest speed, 165 kilometres an hour, which is better than the old 100 mile an hour. Building speed, looking for a gear change from 4th to 5th, and sliding. It's extraordinary. Now, Lowndes is in the lead. He's got 9.2 seconds buffer over Whincup, but there's a fair difference in their time and age on these tyres. So Craig came in lap 47, Jamie came in lap 42, so 5 laps difference of the tyres. This man on screen, Courtney, came in on lap 45, but the guys behind them that are starting to hunt them down are Will Davison and Fabian Coulthard. Davison came in on lap 50, and Coulthard came in on 55. They are 4th and 5th with younger tyres. This is an 84-lap race, as you can see, bottom left of screen. We've still got a long way to go. Why would that be important? Well, today, as you can well see, it's a beautiful day here in Tassie. Lots of blue sky. The temp is up, and having young tyres on the car and splitting this race into equal portions and having a shorter stint on your last set of tyres is probably going to make a difference. And that's the game that Erebus and Brad Jones Racing with the Lockwood car have played here.
Absolutely. So you're on board now with Will Davison looking at the back of Courtney's car. And on the last 2 laps, he was faster. On the last lap there was basically the same time. So this is a pretty healthy group, this one here, because Slade's right in behind Van Gisbergen. Mark Winterbottom made a huge amount of ground. We know that from that full time that we looked at the fuel gauge earlier. Gus Tander in the pit with maybe some front suspension or
they had a problem
steering geometry
power steering in earlier in the day, didn't they? Yeah. So it may be a recurrence. So on the left-hand side of screen there, you've got this intense battle between Mclaughlin, Van Gisbergen, Tim Slade, and next in the queue is Mark Winterbottom. They're all battling for 6th and beyond.
Your point before about the tyre life, Jamie Whincup's the guy in the most amount of trouble because he came in on 42. So those other guys are more than 10 laps better off in terms of tyre life. Now, the real problem is, if you do get a safety car, Whincup is the guy that's vulnerable in that pack.
This is Courtney. This is 3rd place in the race at the moment. And he's got a bit of oil pressure going there, 182 beats a minute. Sustained high heart rate in these cars is extraordinary. The physiological response to the speed and the heat is for the heart rate to bump up to cope with it. And whilst it's a different kind of fitness requirement in one of these race cars, it's a very serious one to be able to deal with the conditions, and they're very strange conditions. A work environment that's incredibly hot, lots of steering load and lots of foot load as well. A little safety tap to pressure that brake pedal. And you see the rear brakes locking, and he just got it stopped. That was teetering on the brink. Couldn't have been a millimetre later under brakes.
Nice, very nice. And he used the clutch very nicely for the gear change down to 1st. And he picked the clutch up softly at the last one, so it didn't grab the gear too hard. It's a little tap of the brake pedal that Neil referred to. Any wonder the drivers end up with lower back and hip issues, because the left leg's on what we call the dead pedal. It's just a little carbon fibre stand to the left of the clutch pedal. And the right foot, most of the time around here, is hard on the throttle at 100%, so you effectively get around with your hip twisted. When you've been in the car for like Bathurst, for example, where you might do a double stint, you do genuinely get out of the car and you're on the tilt.
Yeah, Neil, we're talking about brakes earlier on. You saw Garth Tander in the garage there. He's still in there. Hasn't got out of the car, though. They're actually bleeding the brakes. So I'd say they're overheated, possibly even got a leak. And that's not something you need around here. Very, very tough. Very hot in there, and the brakes look very ordinary, I've got to say.
Yeah, we can see them sticking some fluid in there at the moment as they bleed it. So this is the 2nd toughest location on the tour for brakes. And we see mega numbers on the front brake rotor, and they watch it carefully on the caliper, and they, as you know, Larko, they paint the outside of the brake rotor as well with paint, and it burns off at the highest temp values. Essentially, they smoulder around here, Rihanna.
Yeah, Betty Klemenko, we just came into the garage and you were crocheting, but you've hit it now. How's the heart rate, or is that a strategy to keep you calm?
I've learned that if I crochet, my blood pressure goes down. I calmly look at the screen. If I put it away, I start getting nervous. But who couldn't? I mean, it's wonderful.
Will's getting quite close to James Courtney. What would a podium mean to you?
Everything. It's what we've been here for. That's what we're here for, just to get... I can't even talk. I'm just... I'll get there.
Fingers crossed for you. Get back to the crocheting. Calm your nerves.
Thank you.
Lee Holdsworth finished at 4th with Craig Baird at Sandown last year for Erebus. So to get on the podium, remember our V8 viewer vote, 60% of our voters said, nah, you can't do it. Well, Will's not far away. He's 4th, and he's hunting down James Courtney.
Great battle going on here, though, because it's Will. Oh, big lock up for Will over the top of the rise at turn 1. he locked up. It's very easy to do with the car turning and it wants to leap into the air. And that was the point that I wanted to make. It's Coulthard at the moment who's on the fly. He's got the youngest tyres of anybody in the top 5. He came in on lap 55. His tyres are 5 laps younger than Will Davison on the left of screen in the AMG entry. And Will just gave his a little fry along the way. And these fellows are 13 seconds near enough off the lead of the race, and Lowndes has got 7.4 of those over Whincup. So this little battle that's going on between Courtney and then these two is an interesting one. James has still got a cushion though. There he is. He's off to have a bit of a training camp session next week with his trainer Phil Young, together with Tim Slade, Nick Percat. He's been working with Phil for many years. Trains him hard. They do a huge amount of work. So back to those remarks I made earlier about the high heart rate for James. They work these guys out very hard. In fact, Phil was involved as the personal trainer for Jenson Button for many years. Formula One driver.
But it's such an intense lap, Neil, isn't it? You don't really get a rest. This little piece here, even as you accelerate the car up to 270k, it's got a kink in the straight. See, it's not like you can just sit there and do nothing. Got to get yourself organised, got to position the car properly. It's quite bumpy just there, so you've got to make sure that you get the car in the right spot before you apply the brake. Huge brake loads at turn 6.
And it's flat through 5, but I wouldn't say easy flat, because if you're under the rear wing of another car, you get air disturbance. If there's any garbage on the road, or if you're a fraction wide of the ideal line, the car starts to slide and teeter. We've seen a few issues there over the years, and Coulthard, big lock-up. So blinded by the preceding car, and he made a mistake under pressure.
That may get Will home at that spot.
Well,
little
both
breathing
had one
spot
in the same spot now. So
right.
Will's was 2 laps earlier.
What Fabian's got to do now is not try too hard to get back there, because when you're driving them right on the limit at this stage of the race, the tyre condition has deteriorated. The cars move around, they slide more. That's why they're locking brakes. So you can't just get too urgent about getting back there. You've got to just work away again. Make sure you do a professional, diligent job of moving back towards Will Davison.
This is all good news for Fabian's championship assault, though. Remember that Craig Lowndes came into this round the lead, and then he made good points in that recovery yesterday. There's Brad Jones. He's the man at the helm of this operation here, Lockwood Racing, and it was the inside front that stopped the little lock-up momentarily when that side of the car unweighted for the left turn. And that's all it took for him to just drop a couple of car lengths.
Riding with Mark Winterbottom, who, as predicted, is inside the top 10 at the back end of this race. Started 13th, so a good rescue job for Frosty, who also moved up in the championship yesterday, up to 4th. He needs to stay close at this early stage of 2014.
Looking at sector splits here at the moment, into the second sector, Lowndes, Whincup and Courtney are all pretty much doing the same speed. Will Davison was a whisker slower. Coulthard and Mclaughlin are doing similar speed to the leaders. So everybody's locked into pretty much the same lap speed performance at the moment. And a 53.1 that lap for Lowndes, a 52.8 for Whincup, 2.8 for Courtney, 2.9 for Davison, 2.7 for Coulthard, and a 2.8 for Mclaughlin. That gives you an idea of the relative speeds. There we are.
In fact, the whole top 10 are within, on that lap there, 0.2 of a second.
So Fabian's the fastest man, but you saw a minute ago graphically how hard it is to apply it. It's only a tenth or two here and there, but catching's relatively easy. To then be able to put a move on, that's a much tougher task.
So that was the gap there. First back to second, Lowndes back to Whincup. But you can see the traffic. There's more traffic around Craig Lowndes at the moment. He's got the buffer. He's got 6.9 seconds. Now, we're on lap 80 out of 84, so time's on his side. As Garth Tander just goes back out and circulates. See if they've solved any of the problems there. Fabian Coulthard, that tiny error was enough to give Will Davison a big breath. So, right, I've dropped him for a second. I can hold this position.
And it may look, folks, like the guys aren't driving them very hard. They are driving them as hard as you can possibly drive the cars at the moment. The brake pedal would be long. Pads will have faded. Tyres are ordinary. They haven't got much fuel left. They're doing everything you can possibly do to drive the car as straight and as hard as you can.
It's coaxing now, isn't it? Yep. You've got to eggshell your way around, still make lap speed, but not use anything. You can't have the big, excessive, huge brake pedal mash. You can't lean on the throttle coming off the slow corners without bagging up in particular, the right rear tyre here. James Courtney's losing a little bit of pace relative to Lowndes and Whincup at the moment, and to Davison and Coulthard. He's the slightly vulnerable one in the top 5 pack. Just this last lap or two,
yeah, 1.8,
lost a little bit of margin.
Yeah, so Davison's definitely moved up on James Courtney. So this is the battle for the podium that Davison will be trying so hard in these closing laps to get up to the back of James. And there's Fabian, who's made a little bit of ground back on Will, and there's James.
And how's this? You know, you make that tiny error down at turn 2, and what's that, 3 laps ago, at least? And he's still having to claw back those meters. You just don't get them back easily. You know, it's just not a cheap trick to be able to suddenly drive back up to the back of another car.
That's right. Oh, he's got it locked. Got to get it stopped.
That one's going to put a mark on that tyre. That'll be a problem when Will gets up to turn 4 now. He'll have to brake it a little early. If he tries to maximum attack the brake pedal up there, it'll fall to the flat spot, which makes it worse.
So the tyre ends up looking like a 50-cent piece. It finds the flat spot, and if you lock it again, it'll go to that spot, which is what Neil's saying. It's probably worse, not at turn 4, it's probably worse at turn 6.
It's for sheep stations now, so it doesn't really matter if he hurts the tyre more. So there's the gain along the bottom of screen for Fabian. He's clawed his way back. Lowndes, Whincup, Courtney, Davison and Fabian Coulthard on screen. This is equal to the best performance for Erebus.
And a good drive by Fabian to drag back this way. He said that he had to be patient when he did it. He's done exactly that. Now he's just got to look for a little gap. And the little gap has got to come from car position and exit drive.
Will
one
wants
more
to...
after this one, mate. One more after this one.
Yeah, how many laps? Because he wants to know what he's got to do to get out of this pressure.
Oh, he's gone high, he's gone high. Can Coulthard get him? No. He shuts the door on the way down out of turn 4. So close to giving it all away.
Now you've got to be, it's risk management for Will Davison now. He can't get by in this little section here. There's no way Fabian can make a pass in the next 3 corners here. So you've just got to come out of turn 2 well. So get out of turn 2, make sure you position it well for the hairpin. So this is the spot. Don't lock a wheel. Get it turned, get out of here well.
Okay, this is the last lap.
And
Lowndes has got
last lap, let's position.
6.2 seconds over this man. And he's 5 seconds up the road. Whincup over Courtney, but this battle is unresolved.
Got to get off there now. Nice drive. Nice.
So he's held him off. And Craig Lowndes, what a drive this has been. So much drama and angst yesterday, but he comes back and the smiling assassin gets angry and gets even. Terrific drive. Whincup second. James Courtney will round turn 7 for 3rd. And Will Davison in Erebus Motorsport just holds off Fabian Coulthard.
Yes.
And Betty loves it. It's Brian Madison, the CEO of Erebus.
That right front is absolutely spent.
And that was tough, hard work. Well done, Will.
And I don't know whether you caught that message, but he said the right front was absolutely spent. So it was torched at the end.
Great drive. The drive of Craig Lowndes today, when we all sit down and everything's settled, we'll look back through it and realise that he's put one of the best drives together. He started on the front row, but there's so much of a backstory to it that it could have gone pear-shaped. Well, he got away from Jamie Whincup. He was in an unusual role for Craig, where yesterday he was fighting left, right and centre. Today he was out there by himself. It was all down to him and the car, and him and Jeremy Moore. And they executed it perfectly for his 96th career win. He's edging closer and closer to the century.
And as you said, Matt, yesterday's performance to come from 25th to 5th and to cope with all the drama and intensity within the team overnight and come out and do that. That start set him up. That was such a powerful statement from him today.
Hasn't won the championship since 1999. You guys asked him on the desk yesterday, can you win the championship this year?
Yes.
He just fired straight back, yes, I can.
That's great. Very, very good drive.
We used to call him the kid. He always smiles, just a bundle of energy. And now there's an intensity that we haven't seen for a long time, an anger in his driving. He's willing to fight for every spot. And that may well have been a big turning point yesterday in terms of how the championship is going to play out.
Well, I said to him, Matt, that the start of the year is not normally his forte. The end of the year is normally that. Now, to be leading the series and to turn a drive on like that today is a big statement in this championship for 2014.
It's all right. Craig Lowndes, it has been a drama-packed weekend for you. Yesterday was not your day. Today, from the front row of the grid and sailed off into the distance. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Look, it's a credit to all the guys in Red Bull Racing. You're right, yesterday was a mixed bag of results. You know, Jamie and I got over it and got on with it. Obviously, today was a brand new day. And look, you know, it mattered for us what the strategy was going to play out off the line. And, you know, really focused on getting off the line well. We did that. The car was brilliant. Like, very rarely you have a good car that you can be able to be consistent every lap, and to do those 80-plus laps was really a treat.
It was this race last year that you said in your words was a championship-defining moment, but the wrong one. This weekend is a championship-defining moment the right way.
Well, yeah, look, it's been obviously, as I said, an up-and-down weekend, but yeah, you're right. We've put our best foot forward. You know, we've obviously done a fantastic job. The guys have bounced back from yesterday, got over it, and of course, you know, this weekend is very, very different to what was last year, 12 months ago. So, look, fingers crossed that the year can be the same. But hello to Levi and Chili out there. But look, fingers crossed. Great job for JJ and obviously for Jamie.
And complete domination by Red Bull Racing Australia. Jamie Whincup taking all 3 pole positions on the podium for all 3 races. Congratulations.
Thanks, Rihanna. I didn't get a bad start. Lowndes got an absolute rocket. I must have been a 3-2 or something. So keen to look at the data afterwards. He got a blinder, but he was too quick today. We did everything I could. I keep battling these Volvos. Had another battle with Scotty out there, but I was really struggling for tyres, held those guys back, and then the third set I was much happier with the car.
It was on in the middle of that race with you and Scott Mclaughlin. Once again, you two seem to be tied together.
Yeah, and I saw James and Van Gies, they were all there, you know, so one mistake and I would have dropped back 3 or 4, but held it all together, as I say, much better on the last set.
Well done, Jamie. And James Courtney, Clipsal 500 winner on the podium yesterday. Congratulations, 3rd place today.
Yeah, 2 podiums in 2 days. It's you know, it's excellent work by everyone at HRT. The guys have been working crazy hours, and to be able to reward them with 2 podiums is mega. So no, it feels really good, and also to be able to back up that Clipsal result.
And we head off to Winter next. You've had some good success there as well.
Yeah, well, pole, and we won the thing there last year. So it's a good little period for us at the moment. Hopefully we can go back there and get another podium, and pole would be great as well. So got to get some wins, more wins, and you know, I'm missing Kaz and the kids are at home watching, so hope everyone's having a good day and hope the race was exciting.
Well done, get up there and enjoy the champagne.
Cheers, thanks guys. Thanks everyone at home.
Let's grab a chat with one happy camper here, Will Davo. Mate, wow, what a tough end for you, those last few laps with Coulthard. We heard your tyre, your right front tyre, was out of action, mate, but well done. That's like winning the race for you.
Yeah, it really is, and I had to weigh all these scenarios up during the race, and obviously I realised we were in pretty good podium contention. I knew we had a lot less fuel to go in the second stop, so all of a sudden I popped out there. But with no one in front of me, to try and get a bit of a tow, it's really difficult here when we're giving up a little bit. So I was trying to get to Jamie to maybe him give me a bit of a slipstream, but I just had to tuck in behind Courtney. The tyre life was good. I thought he might come back to me, but then we started delaminating that right front tyre, so I was just hanging on. And just great result for the team. I've got to thank really everyone at Erebus. This is some start of some really, really cool, fun, exciting things. So
well, it must be, mate, because you've said to me a couple of times over the weekend that you are lacking a little bit of horsepower. You thought you were going to be hurting here. Wasn't as bad as we perhaps thought, but going forward to places like to Winton, we should expect the continued strong results, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to show that consistency in my feeling of the car. So the races in Adelaide, the Grand Prix, and here, just fantastic characteristics of the car, and with a bit more straight line speed, we're going to be right in amongst it. So, yeah, look out. We're keeping on learning. We're gelling as a team and working with Lee really well. All the engineers are working really well together. And, yeah, we know where we've got to work hard. I didn't expect it to be good overnight. So this is what I expect. Better than what I expected. It's great, and we know how much more we've got to come.
Above all else, mate, it was a great drive. Let me shake your hand. Well done.
Best fourth I've ever had. So, all good, thanks.
And that's the equal best result, as Neil said earlier, for Erebus Motorsport in the V8 Supercar Championship. So these are our results, 1, 2 and 3. Holden, Lowndes, Whincup and Courtney. Will Davison there in 4th. Scott McLaughlin ends up in 6th. Mark Winterbottom, after starting 13th, played a different strategy game and finished inside the top 10. Good performance from Russell Ingall. He was quietly going about his business there, up to 11th. Jack Perkins in 18th. And Michael Caruso, Rick Kelly, Todd Kelly, James Moffat. So all the Nissans linked together. And a tough day at the office for Garth Tander, whose birthday it is tomorrow. So happy birthday, GT, 37 tomorrow. Time now for the podium. Here's Aaron Noonan.
Time to present the trophies for race 6 at the Tyre Power Tasmania 400. Our winner from Red Bull Racing Australia, Craig Lowndes. In 2nd place for Red Bull Racing Australia, Jamie Whincup. In 3rd place for the Holden Racing Team, James Courtney. And representing the winning team, Red Bull Racing Australia, is Mark Dutton. To present the 3rd place trophy, Stephen Wade, Queensland Regional Director for our naming rights sponsor, Tyre Power. To present the 2nd place trophy, John Fitzgerald, Chief Executive Officer of Tourism Tasmania. Presenting the winning team award, Crichton Lewis, Dealer Principal of Neil Buckby Motors. And to present the winner's trophy, David Wilson, Chief Executive Officer of Tyre Power. There you have it, your race 6 podium finishes at the Tyre Power Tasmania 400.
All smiles at Red Bull Racing Australia. Thanks, Aaron. So 96 career wins now for Craig Lowndes. He's not going to mess around. If I was Roland Dane, I'd be running and running hard. In fact, anyone down there should be running. Collateral damage. Hell of a weekend too for Jamie Whincup. 3 out of 3 pole positions. The first man to clean sweep the poles in a multiple race weekend here. 2 race wins and a 2nd. So really that's where it was won for Craig Lowndes. He got away so well, and from then he was effectively never headed. So the early stages of this race played out in pit lane for about 5 or 6 cars headed by Whincup. They decided to come in early for the fuel stop. And there was good pace straight away in the Volvo of Scott McLaughlin, who found himself in a battle with James Courtney and Will Davison early on. So the good start meant that Craig Lowndes had the pick of it in pit lane, but that's the only mistake he made all day. Exiting pit lane, and he was lucky enough to be able to do it when there was no one around.
And that strategy just meant that the 2 Red Bull cars were separated.
Yep.
They still got a 1st and 2nd. They didn't have fisticuffs on the racetrack, and they weren't queued up and stacking in the pit lane. So it was good play by Mark Dutton and Roland Dane to get it arranged in that way.
Good strategy by those guys too. BJR basically split the race into 3, and Fabian had the freshest tyres in the field at the end. But it was a really great battle in the middle of this with Whincup, McLaughlin, Courtney, Van Gisbergen. That ran through to Slade and Winterbottom just in behind that.
That was a big fill of fuel. Bang. And then this one. Scott just couldn't stop on approach, and he had nowhere to go but into the side of James Courtney. Somehow it didn't damage the front right or the rear left too much, as they managed to get it to the end, and it was steady as she goes for car 888, but not for Dale Wood in the Advam Racer. No safety car. Quite bizarre. 84 laps and no safety car. There's the bros getting together.
I remember someone saying for sure 100% safety car. I remember someone saying
more than 100% he was saying.
Yeah, you would stick your house on it, which is why I've got a 2-man tent.
Fabian Coulthard pushing and pushing and pushing, trying to get that spot off Will Davison, who had his elbows out and his hands full. And at the end, it was about a 6-second win for Craig Lowndes over his teammate. So they've kissed and made up after yesterday. Equal best performance for Erebus in 4th, and Betty loved every minute of it. It was group hugs all round. There's a lot of love in here. The Tyre Power Tasmania 400.